Good afternoon and welcome back to Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. It's been a while since I've actually posted, but I would like to continue how we were working in the employee section of the Finance and Operation Human Resources module. So today we're going to talk about how you assign a bank account information. I'll talk a little bit about the implementation experience as I have been talking to give you a gist of how it looks like when you're actually doing this configuration and we're talking to a client in order to explain to them what it actually means when you actually start using it from an end user perspective. So you've seen this quite a bit now. If you've been following along or if you've seen my video here and there, you've seen this home page. So we actually changed the organization name this time. So we're in Kontaso Entertainment Thailand, right? So this is the header. At some point, I'll show you how you change these headers to make it unique. Basically, it's a banner that you can change it in organization management. But these are some of the things that you can customize for your client when you're actually doing your demo. So that's also another thing that actually you connect with them. So the way we propose and the way we do our bidding and whatnot to win contracts is you want to do a simple sales page, which is to connect with your clients or potential clients. And the moment you have that relationship established, that is when you're going to start really having a good conversation with them because they're going to start explaining you their pain points and whatnot, right? So some of the professional tip, right? You could say a pro tip from a consultant who's been in this for a while. So let's get to it. You go right into the human resource module and click on employees. So the objective, as I had mentioned, was to actually assign them a bank account. So you select an employee right up above, right underneath the bank account, compensation bank account, you click on a bank account. So in my previous video, we actually did talk about the compensation. So you assign a variable compensation and told you a bit of a context on that and what it's used for. Here we are talking about the worker bank account. So in this case, you can either create a worker bank account by yourself as an HR manager, or as an employee, you can go into your employee self-service workspace, which is up above. So this self-service workspace would be available to anyone who has a team member license assigned to them. So you have that capability as well. So you can enter your bank account information there. It should sync in here because they are actually connected. So what you do here when if it's blank is simply create a new one. So you give an account identification and the name of the bank. So you could see that the account identification is a mandatory field, not so much about the name. Let's talk a little bit about the different fields that are applicable to you. In our case, because it's a Canadian entity and it's a Canadian licensed environment, we have only a handful that are sort of matter to us, and that's what I'm going to be discussing about. Routing number. So routing number actually has a 2 digit, so not 2 digits, but two fields from our bank, from a Canadian bank, combined together to create a routing number. And as far as I recall, their routing number is supposed to be around nine digits. So the routing number is a combination of branch number and the transit ID. So that would constitute of a routing number. So you would have that there. And I'll give you the significance of the routing number a bit more when I start talking about the integration in a few minutes. Bank account number, so that usually varies. So in Canada, it can be up to 10 digits, could be 8 digits, really depends on the bank account or the bank itself who assigns these account numbers. Bank account type is basically a field. It's a drop. It should have been a drop-down field, but there should have been a savings account. Unfortunately, I don't see that savings account. That's probably because we're in a Thailand entity, so that's why it's not applicable here. But in Canadian entity, there should be a checking account and a savings account. So it's just for knowledge purpose, or for someone who wants to know what the bank account type is. It has nothing to do with the process itself. Swift code is very unique to international transactions. Same thing with IBAN. So these are international codes that are maybe applicable to your bank account. The account holder, sure, that would be the name of it, very irrelevant in my eyes. Branch name, sure, branch name can be the same as the name of the bank itself, right? And the branch number is very unique to the actual branch itself, so you can have that for historical purposes. And the location code, usually the bank location codes are not very applicable to Canada. Same thing with the address. So if I can, I'll just type in TD Bank. So same thing with the address. You can add the address in here that may be relevant to your integration and your contact information as well. So someone you can contact in order to verify this information from an HR perspective. So now you actually have some context on the bank account itself. Let's talk a little bit about a routing number. So in some of the cloud solutions that you might have seen, like in Oracle, for instance, you would have, or PeopleSoft, actually, for that matter, I think is more applicable because PeopleSoft is very old, yet it was meant for, HR. They tend to have a transit ID and a bank number, I believe, or branch ID uh, as separate fields. But in FNO, a routing number is a combination of the two. And that actually is very useful to know for integration purposes. So if you're sending information to payroll, for instance, then you would want to make sure that your routing number is correct because that information is required in order to process payroll because we want to make sure that the bank account is valid and is sent to the right bank in order to get somebody paid, right? So that this is the uniqueness and of course the significance of the routing number. So you could see that the character is up to 10 fields. So it could be 10, it could be less, but uh, at, as far as I recall, Canada had up to 9 digits if you were to combine those two fields. So very important, so you should know. And this routing number also plays a role in your electronic fund transfer file that you will be generating in your AP. So if you're paying your vendors and whatnot, this routing number needs to be in your organization management because that's the routing number that you as an organization have a bank with somebody. So obviously you want to make sure that the right bank accesses the amount, the correct amount, and deposits it into your, I guess, vendor's account, bank accounts. So routing number, very careful and very useful, but yet you should be very careful with it. Okay. So with that, I'll close up our conversation on bank accounts and then I'll fly through, to be honest, in my next video about some of these fields and we'll really get into uh, the benefits piece, which I think would be a lot more exciting, a little bit more applicable, but won't configure, but I'll show you what the new stuff there are for benefits in FNO.